All right, it is time for your next coding challenge. Your challenge is to pause the video and add another button to the screen that says knock knock. If you tap the button, the app should display a message that says who's there in its title and a knock knock joke of your choosing in the message and the dismiss button. I hope you have your best jokes ready. Let's review what you need to do this. First, open up the SwiftUI canvas, open the library, and drag a button into your app below the Hit Me button, but still within the main VStack. Change its content to a text view that says knock knock. Then write some code to display a pop-up that says who's there. Now luckily you already have an example of how to do this. You also already have an example of how to add a state property to your content view struct. You can copy and paste this and rename it to who's there is visible. Finally, you already have an example of how to use some code when the button is tapped by putting it inside the action block. This is where you want to set who's there is visible to true. And you have an example of how to present an alert. Just follow the example to use who's there is visible and present a knock knock joke instead. All right, that's it. Now pause the video and good luck. All right, so let's add a knock knock joke to our app. We'll go ahead and click plus here, and we're gonna add a new button into the app. So I'm gonna make sure I'm on this tab, drag the button in, and let's see here. We'll just do it this way, into the canvas, insert button to vertical stack. That way we make sure it's in the right place. For action, we'll start with no code, and I'm just gonna say text knock knock right here. All right, so we have our button, and we wanna make it display a pop-up instead of nothing at all. So the first thing we're gonna need is, like we had before, we're gonna need a property to keep track of whether or not the knock knock alert is visible. So I'm gonna just copy that line to save some time and paste it with Command V. And instead of alert is visible, we'll just change it to say who's there is visible. And now down here inside the action, whenever the button is tapped, we want it to be visible. So we'll set self.knock-knock. Let's see, why is it not showing up? Oh, who's there is visible is what we call it. Self.who's there is visible equals true. Okay, so just to refresh your memory, what this means is when we set this true, that because it's marked as a state variable, Swift will then recompute this property. And so what we want to do is we want to tell the button that when who's there is visible is true, we want it to display an alert. And the way we do that is by calling the alert method here. And we specify when we call the alert method a variable that if it is true, the button will make sure that it displays an alert. So here we pass in who's there is visible, except we need to convert it, don't forget, from a state variable to a binding to a state variable by putting a $sign before it. And then for the content, we return an alert. And we're going to do the same one we did last time. So we're going to specify a title. And in this case, we want to put the who's there. Because we already said knock knock, so time to say who's there. And the message will be whatever knock knock joke you came up with. In my case, I'm going to say little old lady, which is one of my favorite knock knock jokes. And for dismiss button, I'm going to put .default again and text. And inside we'll say little old lady who. All right, let's try this out and see if it works. I'm going to hit Command R to run on the simulator. Knock knock. Who's there? Little old lady. Little old lady who? I didn't know you could yodel.